Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of Riding Horses. So we're about to put the first ride on Paz. I feel like I've got him at a place where he's ready for it. My wife's out here on her other horse to help me. What I'm going to use her for is to get him moving around. What I will remind her of is the thing about these horses is they feed off energy so much. So no matter what happens, what I've spent a lot of time in my life trying to teach myself is how to maintain a level of energy that could help bring a horse back from a troubled state. So as I crawl up there and we get him moving around, if he gets troubled, all I need you to do is just don't add to it. And we can add to that by just our energy, so don't worry about it. I've done this a lot. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I am saying this. I feel like I've got him in a place where I think he can do pretty good. Doesn't mean he might not get troubled somewhere by any means. Doesn't mean that at all. But if he does, I mean, what I'm going to try to say is, dude, it's all right. It ain't a big deal. I mean, you've seen me going along here with you, so I'm going to move his feet a minute here myself. So I can go from one side to the other. Oh boy. So you can see how he has a little bit more trouble on this side. Which has been him the whole time. So I'm just going to let him move around here a little bit. I mean, he's definitely had me in here above him close, just not on him. So you see how he has that spot where he gets hung up in the middle? Now, I picked his nose up right there so he wouldn't run into her. Why don't you step out here to the middle and we'll let him go find the outside and I'll let him flow around here a little bit. So that stick, you can kind of use that stick to get him away from you. How I was pushing him around earlier with that stick. Like, just start making some noise with that stick. Start swinging that stick around. And it'll encourage him. See how that encourages him to kind of go somewhere else? Yeah, just keep swinging it. So this is where I want to just sit up here and just let him go and just rub on him. You can help me get him to the lope. Yeah, put your stick in your other hand. Because I want you thinking about behind his drive line. Swing it, swing it, Swing it or he's coming right back to you. We'll just let him carry us here to lope. Yeah. He's got plenty of life left. Nice lead change, bud. Okay, now we'll let him slow down. And when he does, I'm gonna work on flipping this lead rope over his head. And I'm gonna do it here for a few minutes before I just take off loping the other way, unless I do it and he just takes off loping. Otherwise, I'm gonna just play around here just going from one side to the other. Correct. So he's definitely in a spot where he's not like super reactive, where his mind can't handle it, but you can see him get bothered as he has to switch from one eye to the other. So then the horse gets running around there and they look back and they kind of tip their head one way and they see you out of that eye, and then you turn their head loose and they bring their head straight, and then they go to tip it the other way and they pick you up in that other eye. And if at that moment it scares them so bad that they think they got to get rid of you, I don't know that you can really blame them for that, because I feel like that's what we're supposed to do to help them get ready. It's nothing new, because he's shown me that in everything I've done on the ground. So, I mean, I was aware of it before he ever came into my life, but he's reminded me, hey, I'm going to need some help in that area to be able to find that. That's pretty good. So just start swinging that now, and we'll go loping this way. So you're going to try to stay kind of somewhat behind his drive line. We'll get him loping here so he can relax a little bit. I think myself, if you get on one and they get a little bit tight, to me, one of the best things, we'll let him slow down here and I'll bend him around a little bit more. I think one of the best things you can do when they get tight is like free them up and get them going somewhere. Like right there, I said, we'll go ahead and let him lope a little bit and relax. Where some people might be leery of that much forward, but I've tried to show him all along that, dude, all I want you to do is go find a way to speed your feet up and go somewhere. So there's nothing's any different now. I'm not going to try to keep you here. The only difference is I'm not on that horse and now I'm sitting on top of you. But as soon as he loped around there a few circles, he was able to relax more. So if a person can see it from that perspective, I personally think you're getting those horses more prepared for that first ride, because they're an animal that when they get bothered, what do they want to do? Do they want to stand still? No, they want to go somewhere. So if you show them that and say, okay, if that's how you're created, then we're going to build everything around that. You get bothered, then go somewhere. Just show me you can go without trying to get rid of me, if that makes sense. So I want you to just stay there and swing that stick and string, and while you're doing it, I'm just going to bend him around here. Yeah, just swing it. Swing it till your arm gets tired and then switch hands. So I'll pick him up right here. Just right. Swing it over his head. I'll trot off this way. Pick him up here. Swing it over his head. And see, that time, you see how he left that time and put his head down and could leave it a walk? Okay? If they're bothered, I think you can get them to that point quicker by not, oh my God, he got tight, so then I get tight and I try to keep him from leaving. The only reason I picked up on him that first time was because he was headed right towards you and you were sitting dead still. He would have been on top of you before you could have done anything. Otherwise, I'd have just let him go. So I'm going to have you now walk over here to the fence and swap the flag and the stick. Good job, bud. Lots of this right here, really good for them. But they got to bring that head all the way around to you where you can rub them on the forehead. There we go. So you just make some noise with that flag. And I'm just going to move him around here. And then I'm just going to have you get closer to us until pretty soon maybe you're up here rubbing him with that flag. At this point it don't matter what hand you got it in. One arm gets tired, switch. That horse you're sitting on needs to get used to all that anyhow. So what I might do while you're doing that, I might lope him off again, but this time I'll try to get him to the lope myself. Yeah, you just sit right there. As long as you're doing that, he's not going to come hunt you up. So I'm just going to use this right here where I'll go one way, then we'll swap. I'll go the other way. I'll get him loping myself. But just having you in the middle with that flag keeps him out here on the outside without hunting up the middle. Does that make sense? And then I can pick him up, bring him down. And every time I lope him off here, see that first time I loped him off by myself, when I used my lead rope on his butt, he kind of shot out of there. Well, if I'll do this repeatedly, then pretty soon he won't be so reactive. He'll still lope off from my lead rope on his butt with some rhythm. He just won't be so reactive to it. And I'll go one more time here to lope this way. Thank you for not loping in that crossfire, bud. Very nice. So what I'm going to do while you're doing that, I'm just going to work closer to you. Now, I've drove him from the ground, from the bit, meaning I put those drive lines attached to the bit. So technically, I could have some reins attached to that snaffle right now and be steering him around, and he'd follow it pretty good. Excuse me. The reason I don't have them on, and I think this horse has done a fantastic job showing the importance of it, is because he was going to have trouble switching from one side to the other, where I literally have to do that to change sides, means I literally have to address that fear that he has to do it. Otherwise, it's not ever going to go away. So I would look at it this way. If he's going to have that fear, I'm going to have to address it someday. I can either address it right now, today, or I can drag it out and address it 2 weeks later. But I think if I don't address it day one, I personally feel like it builds. So let's say I don't have the confidence to address it today and I wait a week. I think it's going to be harder to change in a week than it would today. So just this right here is if a person can do that, and I might even get him trotting here and say, okay, you're supposed to be able to let me do that while you're trotting. It's not quite as easy for me as the rider, but it doesn't mean I can't fumble through it. But do you see how big a difference that's made in him? Okay, I want you to come towards me. As you're coming with that flag, hold the flag up. I want you to ride up here as if you're going to rub him on the butt with that flag. What I'm going to do is steer his nose this way. You stick that flag over her head this way and rub him. I mean, I rubbed him all over with that flag when I was sitting on your horse. Okay? I just don't need you right there real close to him there. Okay, now bring it up here and rub him on the forehead with it. Just keep it on this side. Yeah, keep it on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and turn him away from you. We'll switch sides. Yeah, so you're going to need that flag now probably in your left hand. Remember when I worked him off of her and I had that flag and it was draped over here, it would cause him to want to just lay against her. Okay, you keep that flag on this side. Put it right here between their heads. There you go. He's going to be way less apt to just crowd into you. I'll turn him away from you there. You got more control of your horse than I do of this one. So if he starts to crowd you and I got my lead rope here, I've got to switch it to the other side to steer him away from you. But you can move your horse off your leg to give you some room. I don't have that luxury yet. Rub him on the forehead with it. Okay, now make some noise up over the top of us. Yeah. Yeah. I just put my lead rope on the other side so he wouldn't crowd into you. How we doing over there? The camera shut off yet? We're still rolling? Okay. Now I ain't got a lot of room here, which I'm fine with it. You just got to understand, my horse might crowd you. I'm not worried about him. Okay, let me have it. All right, you can give me some room here. So now I can practice some of this myself. This right here, that's going to be really good for him. We'll go do the same thing on the other side. So this was the side that he struggles with. So any of this right here is going to be really good for this horse. I don't always just want you standing still, dude. You got to relax while we're moving somewhere. Come more towards the middle. So now when I bring him down, I can really challenge him on this eye with this flag. So as I bring him down here, good job, bud. Hip to forehead, hip to forehead, hip to forehead. Move a little bit more forward. And again, as I bring him down, I will go from hip to forehead. We want to build that right there to what some people will call our emergency brake, this one rein stop. Well, hell, it's not. It doesn't have as much to do with your rein as it does their frame of mind. So it doesn't matter what you do with your rein if their frame of mind's in the wrong spot. Like say how he was in the very beginning, and he wasn't bad by no means. I've crawled on many that my butt hit the saddle, they were gone. I probably got on them too quick or didn't have them ready as good as I could have. But if a guy will take an approach like this from day one, all I've done is I've opened up a door for him and I both now to go build everything we want to do without having to deal so much with this element of fear that creeps in his mind, because I do things that he feels like he has to protect himself from. And if he really felt that strongly, I wouldn't have this in my hand and he wouldn't be as relaxed as he is. So I don't really know how I could ask him to be any better than he's been. I'm grateful for the fact that he wasn't just perfect. He showed a little bit. I mean, I need people to see a little bit of him getting tense at times. If you're in a round pen, the whole point of that round pen is to use the forward motion. The round pen says this: use all the forward motion you want. We're not going to cover miles of country. We're just going to keep coming back to the same spot. Okay, that gives us the freedom as riders to be up here and get out of their way and let them move and not be worried about, well, what if he goes too fast? Well, what if he lopes? Well, what if he starts loping and then starts bucking? Well, it is what it is. If I'm so worried that he might buck when he starts loping, I probably shouldn't be up here to begin with. Hire somebody else to do it. So even that right there, as I tip his nose away from that flag and I'm using it on the outside, that's tough. And then I can bring it over his head and then I can go back over to that side. A week ago, he was bolting trying to get away from me. I got a really nice rope burn here on my left wrist because I was doing that off of another horse and just had his lead rope laying over my arm, and he did that. So he's made some serious progress. I just want to get him walking here where I can work this outside a little bit. And then I'm going to come pass this flag off to you. And then I'll show you guys how I like to finish my first ride. No. Your horse is already mobile. Mine needs to learn it. Okay, so he's cool with that. So here's how I like to end my first ride. I have to crawl off both sides. Obviously, I can't do that at the same time. So I've got him set up here for the right side. I had my foot through the stirrup that far. I'm not leaving my foot there when I crawl off. I'm going to back it up. I'm going to rub him here with my hand because I'm fixing to do the same thing with my leg. I'm going to tip his nose this way. I might even rub him on the forehead first. Then I'm going to put some weight in that stirrup. Let him know I'm fixing to put a lot of weight in that stirrup. Then I'm going to rub him with that leg, and I'm going to step down. Now I'm going to go right back up once I move his feet, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Before I call it a day, I don't like to just crawl off of one side. I feel like you got a chance to work on their frame of mind and this idea of teaching them how to find that comfort zone again once they get bothered, just through getting on and off. So we started with that. We got on and off of him more than half a dozen times each side before we stayed. in another video, not this one. We'd already done that before we started this video. I might go ahead and move his feet. I don't have to go far. I just want to move his feet to get him set up here again. For this side, same thing. I'm going to back my foot out, rub him here, rub him on the forehead, shift my weight in that stirrup, rub him with my leg, and step down. If I can get that frame of mind built, I don't know, there's probably some things that I could go get done on this horse in another 2 days that some other people have been riding their horses for months, still trying to get to a place just because they haven't got them where they can turn loose of that anxiety. So I guess it's all up to us. I prefer to address it in the beginning so it doesn't build from there. And then what I like to do is, our camera's still recording. We were worried we were going to run out of battery before we started this, but we're just about done. So I believe the biggest release you give your horse every day when you ride him is when you pull everything off of him. So think of it this way. If that's the biggest release, that's the biggest reward. So you might want to think about the frame of mind your horse is in when you take the saddle off, because that's the biggest reward you're going to give him that day. And as good as he's done, I want to make that a big deal right there. So I'm pulling everything off of him, even the halter. He's not used to seeing that sit there on the ground, so he's probably going to go look at it. But I would love to be able to go ride this horse, and him in his mind thinking, so if I act like that, this is the reward right here. Now you guys can see how he loves to stick his tongue out. And if I can get that ball rolling, then I think I can go have that horse every day. So pretty uneventful first ride, but I think that's what we're all striving for. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is really good.
You're happy with your horse?
No, I think he's really good for being his first day of that.
Yeah, I think he did too.
I mean, pretty good mind, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be hard to build a pretty relaxed horse. Colt, thanks for filming for us today. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Riding Horses. And we will continue showing this horse's progress right here on our YouTube channel, Kerry Coon Horsemanship. So be sure and subscribe if you haven't already. And you can watch this horse as he progresses through his training. Great job, bud. Cut.